We started taking advice from hoes. They're telling hoe stories, but they're not telling the whole story. Tricks usually have money because they're emotionally unavailable and probably just terrible people who are only looking for power and control over a woman's body. Now, when you looking for love, you go on a date, you shocked that the man think he paying for by buying you filet mignon and some risotto. Yeah, we did that. We were a part of the problem. I don't think that got something to do with how sex work and normal love life have somehow become intermingled.
Today we'll be diving deep into the mind of the transactional woman just so that you can understand exactly why these are the last women you should ever take dating advice from. Call me crazy, no Susie, no pesto, but anytime I've taken advice from a person I wouldn't trade places with, it has never worked out in my favor. As women who want husbands, what could we possibly learn about men from women who only deal with tricks? And I know a lot of these women say that they've dealt with men that you would be shocked to find out about, like respected men in the community. But at the end of the day, a trick is a trick. You can be a married trick, you can be a preaching trick, you can be a little league coaching trick, but it doesn't change the fact that these men don't have the mentality of a husband. They have the mentality of a trick. Two totally different mindsets that require two totally different approaches, and what attracts one will repel the other. You see, you and I, normal civilians, we're what these people lovingly refer to as squares, and we participate in something that they call square love, which is the whole white picket fence, 2.5 kids thing, and that very scenario is their version of hell. Because if you notice, a common theme with all of these women is that they are extremely jaded and they hate men, rightfully so, because they are dealing with the worst of the worst. But the problem is that their cynicism is rubbing off on you and making you believe that all men cheat when husbands who have overcome their lust don't cheat. Tricks who are enslaved by lust to the point where they're willing to turn it into a transaction are the ones who cheat. So whether he's a blatant trick, a future trick, or an undercover trick, the men who have not overcome their lust, those are the ones who cheat. And it just so happens to be the only types of men that these types of women interact with. And that brings me to the first point, which is that you have to have the correct type of bait for the type of fish that you are wanting to catch. If you're wanting to catch a husband, then learning about the bait that is used by transactional women serve you no purpose. And I know it seems like they would have such good advice because they have so much experience with so many different men, but the only types of men they deal with are perverts. So what use is that for a woman who wants a husband? That'll cause you to subconsciously go into these dating interactions as if you're dealing with the same sex-crazed perverts that she deals with on a regular basis, and that's just not going to connect well with a man who has the potential to be a husband. It won't bother the sex-crazed perverts because they're used to being treated like that, so they'll put up with the attitude, but the man who's actually going to be faithful to you and be good to you and be a partner to you, he's not going to tolerate that. Now, if you told me that you like to watch these creators because you see them as a great source to learn all the red flags that these types of men have so that you can avoid them, I would totally get it. But what if I told you that there was a much easier way to avoid these men while simultaneously conserving all of that energy that would have been wasted on being hypervigilant? And that brings me to point number 2, wife frequency versus hoe frequency. So I'm still pretty new to the whole topic of frequency, but my understanding of frequency is that it consists of basically your inner world, which is your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, and that is what gets expressed physically through your body language, your facial expressions, and your overall energy that you're emitting. That is the thing that plays a huge role in the experiences that you either attract into or repel out of your life, within reason, of course. So with that being said, how do you think your frequency is impacted when you're adopting the thoughts and the beliefs of a person who sells their body for money and who regularly interacts with people who see no issue with buying another human being? If we compared frequency to like a smell, then for a future husband who is serious about finding his wife, the frequency of a hoe for a man like that is like a stench that can't be covered up no matter how many times she sprays her $600 Baccarat Rouge perfume. And in the same way, the frequency of a woman who has the self-esteem that is high enough to require abstinence until marriage is absolutely repulsive to the men who view access to women's bodies as a transaction. And that is how you conserve your energy while you're dating, because when you choose to be abstinent until marriage, you are no longer in need of validation. So you are no longer a match for the men who need sex. You see, the people who are still dependent on external things, they are a perfect match. They fit together like a puzzle piece. As a woman, needing anything from a man is a very dangerous place to be, because whether your need is financial or your need is emotional, you are a perfect match for a man who's willing to trade that in exchange for access to your body. The men who don't need access to your body are only attracted to the women who don't need their validation situation and who don't need their money. The final reason why I don't think anyone should be listening to these transactional dating coaches is because you are most likely their retirement plan. These are women who run game for a living. All they did was switch the gender and they ended up with a much easier lick. If your two options were to either create content or go to your happy place every time some weirdo wants to climb on top of you, I'm pretty sure most people would go with the path of least resistance. They know that super divisive content is what gets the clicks, and they also know that misery loves company. So first they fearmonger you into being hopeless about men, and then they create a bunch of parasocial relationships that they're able to monetize. I don't know where this faux solidarity came from, but these women are not your friends. They're not to be trusted, because do you think for 1 second that if your man was willing that she would say no out of respect for your marriage? We're talking about women who have prioritized money above everything, even their own safety. That's where your discernment comes in. Whether you're dealing with a male or a female, learning how to recognize these poor character traits is what's going to save you from getting finessed every time. If you're needing help doing that, or you're needing help on your abstinence journey, or you're needing help with figuring out the best way to navigate your single season, you can work with me at the link down below.